Hi there, I'm Heather, and this is my husband, Dr. Ron Llewellyn,
Welcome to Life Together.
a place where we share
Laugh,
and try to provide helpful information on things like marriage.
relationships, mental health issues.
We've been married for 18 years.
We have 2 cats, no kids.
Yeah, so take any parenting advice with caution.
In 18 years, we've been through a lot. We've learned a ton.
And we just want to share those lessons with you. So we hope you enjoy. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Heather. This is Ron with Life Together. And tonight we're going to start a new series on depression. What a fun thing to talk about, right? But this will be a several video episode series. Tonight we'll just kind of start it off with an introduction into what we're going to be talking about. But I'm sure that everybody at some point in their life has experienced some kind of depression. So in some form or another, probably something that we're going to talk about will be applicable to you or helpful for you. Maybe you're going through something right now, or your spouse or significant other is dealing with something. I know there's a lot of difficult things going on right now, so hopefully something we talk about is helpful for you. But yeah, maybe Ron, tell us what we're going to talk about over these next few episodes.
Well, I thought we were going to talk about depression.
We're going to talk about depression.
Yeah, we're going to just going to do a quick overview like Heather said, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the theory, not much. In some of the other videos I think I was being professor versus being helpful, so I think I'm going to try to back down on that a little bit. But so yeah, there's a couple of things. One, we know that we have sadness, which isn't necessarily depression. We know that we can feel fatigued, which isn't necessarily depression either. So when we get this cluster of symptoms that becomes really difficult to cope with, that it becomes depression. All right?
Okay.
So what I'm going to do first is
When you say sadness, do you immediately think of that, is that Inside Out movie? And sad.
No, I rarely reference animated movies when I think about stuff.
That's what I thought of as sadness. Oh. Anyway, sorry. Side note.
Side note. Yeah. So the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, is which is where we are right now. Not my favorite book in the world for various reasons, but let me just run through the classic symptoms as defined in the professional literature for depression, for major depressive disorder. I have it right here. I know it by heart, but I'm just going to read through it so I don't ramble too much. So during a 2-week period, you have either depressed mood or loss of interest or pleasure. Those are the keys. If you have those, then we have to look at the other things as well. The other things include the depressed mood most days, nearly every day, as indicated by a subjective feeling of sadness, and that's typically observed by others. Marked diminished interest in pleasure and activities that would bring us pleasure, so we discontinue things that we would normally enjoy. This one is a great thing, significant weight loss when not dieting, or weight gain. So it can be either or. Insomnia or hypersomnia, which means too much sleep. So too little or too much sleep. What they call psychomotor retardation or activation or agitation. This is simply, it feels like your muscles weigh a ton, or you get really agitated and have to move around because it's just bothering you. So that could be an element as well, including fatigue, loss of energy, feeling worthless, excessive inappropriate guilt, shame, sense of helplessness, hopelessness. I'm making stuff up now. This is actually just how I define it. Let me go back to the stuff here. Feelings of worthlessness or excessive inappropriate guilt, which may be delusional. We'll come back to that. Nearly every day, not merely self-reproach or guilt about being sick. Diminished ability to think or concentrate, indecisiveness nearly every day, and recurrent thoughts of death, recurrent suicidal ideations, without specific plan or suicidal attempt or a specific plan for committing suicide.
And so you said it's not all of those things,
No,
but you
it's
would
not
be
all of those.
experiencing some of those
Yeah,
things.
you would experience some of these. Typically, I think it's a certain number of them. I should know this, but I don't. I think it's like 4 or 5 of them you would
Okay.
expect to have. Now, with depression, though, one of the reasons why I don't like the DSM is it tries to pigeonhole people into these very narrow categories, which no one is going to fit in. Everyone experiences depression differently, and that's an important element. So when you're looking at your own experience, or when a therapist is trying to understand your depression, we have to look at it very uniquely, and there's some different ways. There's what's called exogenous depression, which just means situationally induced sadness, maybe a loss, or just, life's kind of hard. There's endogenous, which is more the biological elements, the sleep issues, the fatigue. There's also something called closet depression.
And what was the endogenous? Is that what you said?
Endogenous.
Which is a more physical,
Mhm.
and maybe that's being caused by an ailment.
Yeah, it could be caused by an
Like,
ailment.
maybe you just had a surgery, or something is causing you to not feel well, and it's sort of inducing these other symptoms.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, except for
Okay.
that wouldn't be major depressive disorder. That'd be something else. But either way, it doesn't matter. Just because the DSM defines it differently, it's still
Okay.
your own experience. So that would actually be a depression caused by a medical condition, like surgery. So there you go. Now, I mentioned closet depression, or what some people call narcissistic depression. This one's fun.
Oh.
So
See, depression can be fun. Sorry, that's
my
inappropriate.
favorite analyst pointed this out. She says, if you tell someone that you really like them and they're classically depressed, they'll say, I hope to see myself in that way too one of these days. But if you tell the closet depressed person, the masochistically depressed, sorry, I got the term wrong, masochistically depressed person, they'll always say, no, you don't. No, I'm not. Because they're seeking nurturance, and they're seeking, so they'll rip themselves apart to gain reassurance from people. You can't treat those two things the same way, but I feel I'm becoming professor again. And so, yeah.
I think what was interesting about a lot of the things you pointed out is it seems that someone going through depression, they're just out of sorts. They're feeling and acting differently in many ways than they normally do.
Absolutely.
Right? That seems to be a telltale sign, whether it's normally they're upbeat and active, now all of a sudden they're very fatigued and tired, and in combination with, they love to go out and socialize with their friends. Now they don't want to leave the house. So just almost acting the opposite of what they would normally
Yes.
do.
What I often tell people, which I think will probably be the title of our episode, is depression is a liar. Everything depression tells you is a lie. You can't feel good. You should feel guilt. You should feel shame. You don't have energy. You don't want to go hang out. You don't want to go do anything. You don't enjoy anything. Everything is a lie that depression does. So, we got to challenge that lie. Okay?
All right.
Well, all right. Let's take a look real quick at a couple of things here. I think in setting the stage here, but before we move on, I do want to make a point. Again, I'm jumping into professor mode. When something's considered a disorder, there's a criteria to every single diagnosis, and that is it causes substantial functional impairment in a person's ability, socially, academically, work, and so forth. Mm-hmm. So that's important to be considered a disorder. It's causing functional impairment. Now, I think coming up in our future episodes, the way that I like to conceptualize or break things down is a little bit different, maybe. I do it in two different forms. The first form, when I'm looking at treatment goals, I like to look at what's going on biologically. I like to look at what's going on psychologically. I like to look at what's going on socially. And for the people with faith, I like to look at what's going on spiritually. for the psych students, they probably recognize the biopsychosocial elements, because when we do our biopsychosocial evaluations, we're looking at the biological, psychological, and social elements of what's going on. That's why I break it down in that. Of course, because I'm a person of faith, I also feel it's very important to look at spirituality as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And then number two, the other way I conceptualize is I look through a theory and I try to explain what's going on through a theory, which is a lost art, according to my professor, one of my favorite professors of all time. He taught me how to conceptualize. I don't think that'll be appropriate here because it's more professor stuff. But maybe we'll jump a little bit into it. But that's how I'd like to break things down for the upcoming sessions. Like we're in session. That'll be $125. See you next week.
Right. Please make checks payable to... No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good introduction to get us started, right?
I think so. And we'll have exercises as we go through that you can download and utilize for a lot of these things.
Yeah. And again, even if maybe you don't feel like you fit the clinical definition of depression, like I said, we've all gone through those little slumps, right? Like we're feeling kind of down in the dumps. Some of these exercises and techniques can help lift you out of those as well. You don't necessarily have to be in a clinical type depression to find benefits from these types of things, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Right. All right.
Should we sign off?
We'll sign off. Okay, well, follow us on our YouTube channel. Obviously, we'll be putting out several episodes on this topic over the upcoming weeks. So subscribe to our channel so you can keep up to date on those. If you're liking what you see, share us with your friends. Follow us on all the platforms we're out there. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, our website, lifetogether.drron.com.
And we're going to get a Parler account too.
Apparently we're going to get a Parler account. Ron will have to run that one.
So don't expect any updates.
Too many for me to keep track of. But yeah, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time.